Hi, Aga. It's nice to see you. Welcome to my channel and welcome to this interview. I'm really excited to have you here. We've met for the first time in 2020, in the beginning of 2020, exactly 2 years ago, in the last international intensive training that was held offline here in India. And it was absolute blast. We had 10 days with a small community of 100 people. And I really enjoyed the sessions. I remember that I went to the sessions, your sessions that you were doing for beginning of the journey. And by that time, I was already practicing for 2 years. I was leading the practice group. And yet I realized that you give something very special, something very different from what I experienced before, which was a lot of connecting to the body and to the sensations. And it was so sweet to go to this basic course with you and going through the basic steps, and really enjoyed our connection there. And then we did another course that I'll speak a bit later maybe about it. And yeah, just saying that super excited to see you online. We haven't connected for some time as well. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Natalia. And thank you everyone who is listening and that you decided to spend this time to get inspired, hopefully. And I'm really happy to reconnect to you. I do remember this. It feels like another world, actually. The India, before the pandemics, it's like, okay, and we were just hanging out, not thinking about masks or anything. Somehow the world seemed to be an easier place to be in on an everyday basis.
Yeah, thank you. I do recognize that it was easier in this sense that there were less masks and less thinking about the social distancing and not allowing yourself to be physically connected with other people, like hugging each other was so much easier. And I already shared a little bit about how my journey started in NVC, and I did the interview with Louise, with whom my journey actually started. And I'm really curious to know from different people how NVC came into their life. And if you would share something about your background and how did you get to know and why did NVC draw your attention? Why is this language suddenly spoke to you? I would be very curious to hear that.
So what's most delightful, I just realized that there is this story that I've been telling quite a few times already, because my NVC journey started in 2008, which is 14 years ago, more or less. So there is this chronological story that I'm going to share in a moment, but I just realized that I think what brought me to NVC somewhere on a deeper level was longing for connection and for intimacy, understood as like emotional intimacy, like really being close to other people, also longing for community, so and when I say community, what comes up is this sense of belonging that results from who I am and people being interested in who I really am, rather than needing to fit into some sort of cultural expectations. So there are elements that brought me there, but I think this is what kept me there, and that is a deep longing that is being fulfilled by being part of this philosophy. I still struggle to find out what is NVC. Like, it's a process, it's a philosophy, it's so many things. So that's heart. And now I had quite, I would say, regular education, and my pathway was kind of set, like being a good student and then starting to work in a corporate environment, and like it felt okay. I mean, it was a really nice job with really fun people. I got paid very nicely, so like in a way I was sad. But I remember when I was like leaving my office day or thinking, okay, how about thinking about retirement and me doing this for this long time, I felt kind of empty, so there was something missing, and I didn't quite know what it was, but it felt like I really need to give my energy and give my life to something that feels deeply meaningful for me, that I can't work without it. I mean, I can for some time, but not for a longer period of time. The thing is that at the time, I had no idea what it is that I could do. Because everyone, like literally everyone I knew, was working in corporate world. So it was like, I knew how to become a doctor or a lawyer, right? Or an IT person, and that was it. Yeah, but how do you do these other jobs? And then I had this idea and a dream that wasn't very popular in Poland at the time, to take a gap year, so to speak, during work, and go traveling. There is this myth, like you go traveling and then you discover who you are, yeah, and your true life's purpose. I'm kind of mocking it a little bit, but yeah, it was a really deep longing in me. It's just that the traveling was really great, met a lot of people and discovered many things, but not really who I am or what's my life purpose. I don't know, maybe 8 months is not enough for that. Anyways, I came back, turned out same company, same position. And I was like, okay, now what? And then I think 2 months later, I got a newsletter with an information about School of Trainers for Personal Development based on nonviolent communication, which was the first time I learned about nonviolent communication. And I read about it, and there was this sense of recognition, like, okay, yes, part of it was this understanding that there are needs behind everything that people say or do. And at the time already, I loved reading books with like black or evil characters that were described or shown in a way that you could really tap into their humanity and say, okay, I get it. If I were you, I don't know if I would have killed these people, whatever, yeah, but I really get it. Yeah, where this is coming from. I hated these films where there was the good character who was fighting the bad character, and the bad character was such a horrible person that you were like, who could be a horrible person like this? And of course he deserved to die. Yeah, like this was kind of, it didn't feel true. It felt like life is more complicated. So this was like, okay, so there are needs, and we try to meet these needs the way we know, the way we can. And sometimes the ways we try to meet these needs are really horrible, but there is a human being in everyone. And I think that this is what really resonated. So yeah, I started, and it's a gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. I'm hearing that there are two parts, and first part is that you were drawn to this community by this sense of belonging and being seen for who you are, and not being not needing to fit yourself into some cultural norms or something that is more of what is expected from me, or what I perceive as expected from me. And then there is this other part that you were in your corporate work seeking for meaning and what you would like to contribute to the world probably, and how do you make sense of things. And that when you came across NVC, it just made sense that, yeah, you recognize this idea that everything we do or say, we do or say because we do have needs. And I really can connect to this idea. Thank you for sharing this. Just recently I watched a turn in Hollywood perception of this idea of needs. That was last Spider-Man, where all the villains are actually poor people who did not know how to express their needs. And then when you give them this magic treatment of, in my head it's empathy, but then there was like some lotions that they were given. Suddenly they're normal people with normal needs, and they want to be understood, they want to be connected, they want to be heard. And yeah, I really enjoyed that the public culture is also taking it this way. Maybe the message is getting through somehow. Yeah.
What it brings up, you mentioning it. Yeah, I love how this goes into the mainstream culture as well. The understanding that it's not bad people. It's more about what something happened to those people. So there is more and more talk of trauma and how experience of trauma, including developmental trauma, which means what we didn't, not what we did experience, but what we didn't experience. Like if we didn't experience that we are wanted really, or that we're loved unconditionally, and like really who experienced that, you know, because it's just passing from one generation to another generation, then we carry these wounds and they get re-triggered, and then we act out of this past rather than responding to what's happening here and now, which is also one of the things that I love about practice at NVC, because it's like really like a muscle, you know, that I just keep practicing and keep coming back. And if things get off course, I have this like a checklist of 3 that I'm always getting reminded. Do you want to hear what these are? So when things get off, you know, I have the checklist of curiosity, connection, and needs. Yeah. So I just started to say about responding to the now and responding in the present moment, because this is when we use NVC. It's one of the questions I like to ask the people in workshops. Yeah, when do we use NVC? Now. Always. Like you can't use it in the past. So like if things don't work, you work with it when you realize. And you realize in the now. Yeah. And then I'm asking myself, curiosity, am I curious? So to really come out of this kind and curious and it's not about beating myself with a stick, yeah, but rather saying, what happened there that I responded, yeah, like really getting curious. And then in NVC we have needs, yeah, this understanding that there is something precious, even if I don't enjoy something, there's something precious underneath. So it's like making sure that I have these glasses on and getting curious. So what was important to me, or what was important to the other person, if I'm kind of triggered with what someone else did. Yeah, and then connection. So that's the primary intention behind NVC. Yeah, that we're here to connect, and then NVC is actually a strategy. I mean, it's a way. It's a very powerful way, but it's only a way. So I rather set my radar to, are we connected, than to think about a particular structure, how to do that. And sometimes the connection starts or happens without words. So, yeah, that's
Thank you for sharing. Yeah, I'm hearing that you have this checklist of three things, and it sounds so simple and so light that, oh, just 3 things to remember about this curiosity, connection, and needs. And I wonder if it works that easy. If you said that you're practicing or you learned about NVC 14 years ago, and I know that you went through quite a journey since then. And can you put a finger on it, on how did your personal relations changed in this time? Did it magically fix all your arguments with your, I don't know, loved ones, with your family, with your parents maybe? Or did it magically make you accept yourself? How does it work?
Well, one thing is, there's this quote from a book of Terry Pratchett. You know, he invented this Discworld, a novel, and there is this story about a girl who wants to become a witch, and at some point an elder witch asks her, so Tiffany, do you know what's the reward for digging holes? Do you know what's the reward for digging holes?
I don't know, being burdened.
A bigger shovel. So that's one of my experiences. And I have a bigger shovel now. And I realized, I mean, still in the process, but I realized that the point is not to fix myself, my life, my relationship, and then it will be fun, right? Because this is a never-ending story. It's a never-ending process. It's more about enjoying the ride or enjoying life more, and being, well, Marshall said, being progressively less stupid. Like being progressively more kind to yourself and to others. Yeah, because for me, like one of the reasons why I stepped into or how I stepped into the NVC and how I see workshop participants is that, okay, we want to be better. Yeah, we want to be better people. We want to be the perfect people. So there is a lot of this, okay, so I will learn, I will go to this workshop and that workshop, and then I'll be perfect. And for one thing, it doesn't work this way. No. And for another thing, it's again, like it's a form of cruelty, trying to perfect yourself all the time. And it's a way of running from shame, you know, shame of who do you believe is, like, which parts of you are not okay. So what I'm learning and what I'm sharing, because for me it's like, it's one process, almost like, yeah, is to go towards my shame and, you know, and find more love for me and then for others, rather than trying to get better.
Yeah, thank you for sharing this. I was making shocked face when you said that the idea is not to get perfect. And yeah, I know it's somewhere deep inside, and still this idea lives in me that, yeah, I want to be a better version of myself, because every motivational video says that I need to be a better version of myself and I need to reach the perfection. I mean, go in this direction. And you said something.
That where I would stop there for just a second. Yeah, and I'm wondering if guys who are watching us, if you recognize the same thing too, and like raise your hand if you do. I will raise mine. You know, that's another thing I didn't get rid of. But see, that's the thing, that we all have this inherent desire to grow as beings. Yeah. So there is this metaphor of like a seed, you know, a plant. You know, the plant doesn't grow from someone standing there and saying, you need to try harder. Okay? Have you mastered it already? How to optimize intake of the sun? You know, do you know how to work with the wind? You know, like you could really open yourself up to the water more. And, you know, this is ridiculous, right? Of course it's there and it needs nourishment. Yes, it does need environment, like what I said about community. You go there, you know, to these places, workshops, teachers who are appealing to you, and you're sitting there. And of course, it is an environment to grow, but it's almost like the growth happens by itself when you provide the environment, which is a safe environment to start with, and then stimulating, in a sense, like stimulating intellectually, stimulating emotionally. Yeah, and it just moves.
Wow, I love this metaphor of the seed that is not told how to grow, but it needs environment, it needs sun, it needs water, it needs soil that is nourishing. And I'm guessing this growth comes from, if we switch back to people, that is also coming from curiosity. That is one of the 3 components that you named. Yeah. And you said something a bit ago about moving towards our shame. And I would like to go this direction. So we did after the IIT, when everything switched online, I was part of supporting team in your course that was called Free to Feel. And it was about connecting with emotions. And it was 3 months course. So 3 months, every day there was a video, every working day, there was a video of 20 minutes with the small tasks. And then bi-weekly there were webinars where we met and discussed and also did some exercises. And my question is, why do people need to learn for 3 months how to feel? Isn't it something that we are born in? And why do we need to be liberated? Why do we need to be told that we are free to feel? What is the intention behind this? And why do you think it is, where do we lose this connection with our feelings and we start running from them rather than moving towards them?
That's a big question, and the shortest answer that I have is I don't know. And that's actually one of answers that I really enjoy, because, you know, when you include the curiosity thing, that's like, I don't know, but if I'm curious about this particular thing, this is what leads me to going there and looking for sure. You know, when I started learning NVC, it was like the courses that I attended. They're quite technical. Like we learned the 4 elements of the model, and then we were practicing speaking. And I remember, okay, so these are the needs. And, you know, someone was telling a story, like if you told me a touching and moving story from your experience where you would like to understand yourself better, and imagine that I have this list of needs, yeah, and I'm looking at this, you're speaking to me and I'm looking, okay, so let me see, is this connection that you want? And maybe belonging also, yes. No, okay. See, so there was a lot of this in my early days, and of course we were learning, but I was really looking at it and trying to understand how to access this potential of NVC that I got from like the trainer. So the trainer joined us, there was magic happening, but I didn't know like how, you know, where does this person get it? And then I realized that I'll turn it around. So how do you know that something is happening in your life?
You want me to answer this question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all of you listening too. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I can see it with my eyes, hear it with my ears, sense it with my sensations.
Yeah, but sense it with your senses. But when do you first realize, oh, something is happening, something is, for me, this is the sensations of feelings that are telling us that something is touching us. Yeah, so it's like our aliveness is in our feelings and sensations. This is how we respond to life. So for me, this is of course I see, but unless something resonates, unless something touches me, there is no connection. Like if there is a connection, there is a feeling, right? And so we feel. We are beings who feel. And then there are some feelings that are pleasant, and then there are some feelings that are not so pleasant, right? And what do we do with what we feel or how we feel? How do we relate to that? So when we are born, now I will share with you my theory of why do we need to learn to feel, because as I said, I don't know. My theory is that when we are born, being these really tiny babies, we are so open and receptive, unbelievably, but we don't have the capacity, the mind capacity to process it, to understand it, to choose how we want. It's like life just moves, life just happens, and everything moves. And the child is particularly attuned to her mother or the person who's taking care of them, right? So it's the mother who is responding to these feelings, to these reactions. And so I will use mother, but it's not always the mother. I just want to name it. So she is regulating, supporting the regulation of the child, emotional regulation. But let's imagine that this mother is not dealing well with emotions, like she doesn't know what to do with her anger, or she feels overwhelmed with her sadness, or she's stressed and she has a lot of fear, whatever it's there. The child will be impacted by it, and also she won't be able to hold space for these emotions in the child if her own are coming up. So like if the parent doesn't know how to relate to the anger in a healthy way, when the child is angry in this free-flowing, spontaneous way, they will relate to the child's anger the way they relate to their own anger, either suppressing it or, I don't know, reacting to or whatever. So, and then, so this is on the feeling level. So that's one thing how children learn. I do what you do. I tune in, and that's, and then another layer is a layer of beliefs, like, what sort of things that you hear, but usually it's that in where I live, that girls are not supposed to be angry. Good girls are not angry, and boys don't cry.
And also you need to sit tight, and when we eat with spoon and fork. And also girls are not pretty when they cry. I guess we have a lot of these stories that we know.
And there are these stories related to emotions. Like starting from when you fall and you hear it doesn't hurt. So it's like, okay, it hurts me, but there is this adult person who I trust who says it doesn't hurt. So it's about, who do I trust? Do I trust myself? I don't know, I'm 2 or 3. I know nothing about this world. Or do I trust this adult person who tells me it doesn't hurt? It's really messing with your head. Yeah, so bit by bit, we learn to disconnect from what we feel because there is no space for what we feel. Yeah, like, oh, that's nothing. Oh, don't cry, or this. Yeah, it's our emotions are not seen or validated, acknowledged. And also, we have no clue how to deal with them. And that applies mostly to the unpleasant emotions. But the thing is that if you try to disconnect from or push away your unpleasant emotions, then it works for all of the emotions. So you feel less, and you're kind of starting to live in this, I'd say, disconnected way. There's this saying, like the head, like the body being a transport device for the head. Yeah, you're allowed to be rational, you're allowed to think, but not really to feel. That's how it starts. And this is why we need to reverse the process to, first of all, start noticing at all what we are feeling. And then the second thing is to feel safe, to learn to feel safe with what I'm feeling. Yeah. Because
so there is hope, and it sounds like a lot of work to learn it again. Like I spent previous 35 life practicing what I was practicing. Now, do I need to spend next 35 to change it into allowing myself to feel?
Possibly not 35 years. Like what I heard, the translation rate is as many years that you practiced something, you need the same amount of months to relearn it, at least to a certain extent. Yes, so there is hope here. Yeah, and it actually, the learning starts from the first moment on, like when you start to see, okay, this is what I'm feeling, and then you learn to feel safe with the feelings more and more. So you don't have to be reactive to feelings. So it's not like, oh, I'm feeling anger. Who's to blame? Yeah, I have to do something not to feel it because it's so unpleasant. You know, I'm feeling fear. I'm feeling scared. I'm feeling sad. Yeah, but it's so. I can't feel this. I have to fix it and fix it now. Yeah, but if you become more comfortable with it, you can be like, oh, okay, what is it that I'm feeling? Okay, how does it move? How does it feel? And what does it long for? Which brings us to the needs. Yeah. And then okay, this is what I long for. Okay. And I can relax into it. And from there, I can see, okay, this is what the life in me, which is feelings, longs for, which is needs. And then I can stay with it and wonder, what is it that I would like, which is a request, or maybe I would like to ask someone else for something. You know, people love contributing from this open and spacious way. Yeah. And that's NVC.
Wow, thank you for explaining. That's exactly what I was trying to say, that the way you explain it is very different from Marshall's book, and yet it is. I recognize the ideas and I recognize the story, and when it is told through the body, through the sensations, through this way that you explain, that how it develops, it just touches me very deeply, and I can find so much resonance, and I hope that people that are watching this are also finding resonance in this, that yeah, we can recognize these stories. And thank you so much for reassurance that it's not as many years as I spent practicing, but actually it's in months, and so it's 12 times shorter. Sounds really reassuring. And Yeah, so that was the project that we worked more than a year ago, and I'm curious, what are you working on right now? What is your current, what currently gets you going? Why do you do what you do, and what is it that you do?
So I actually I'm a bit in a in between phase. Yeah, so I'll tell you in a moment what I'm doing, but that's part of what I noticed is that my energy is fluctuating, and I think everyone can recognize that. Yeah, that sometimes we are more out there in a creative phase, doing, which is usually appreciated and valued. Yeah, so we are valued when we produce something or do something that is seen as valuable. Yeah, and after this period, there is a time of, I don't know, of letting go and of relaxation and more, turning inwards. So actually, after we did the course, the Free to Feel, which I loved, I really loved this course. I put so much heart into it, and then it felt like, okay, I need some space, and my energy went inside. So I go for walks more. I spend time with my family more. I really am trying to, at least, to honor this move. I am still offering workshops, and I love working with embodiment, with emotions, and the empowered way of connecting, relating to our emotions. I love working with teachers and supporting teachers in connecting with children. And there is so much to unlearn about how we relate to our children. Yeah, and like, when we think that we should teach them how to be human beings, that creates so much distance and so much tension into our relationships. But when we see them as these human beings in a process of growing, yeah, and our job is to create an environment, a loving environment, and also feedback, like a loving feedback and connection with them, then this relation can be a completely different thing. Like, I have two children. My daughter is 10 and my son is 13. So he's like on the verge of being a teenager. I don't know what happens next when his mind, like his brain on the neurological level, it gets reorganized. But so far I see so much, I would use the word benefit, which I don't really like, but it's like value maybe, yeah, from this way of being together, how it translates into our relationship, that the connection is the foundation. It's a very strong foundation, and there's trust. Yeah, there's this book by Justine Moll, Growing Up in Trust, which is one of my favorite books on NVC parenting. And that when we have that, it's so much easier to work out and conflicts. Yeah? And I feel that they trust me, yeah, that they follow me. And sometimes even I say, like, I don't want to talk about it. I want you to do it now, and we can talk about it later. They will follow because they trust me and because they know that we usually talk. Yeah, so that's one big thing that I'm doing. And the third that I'm stepping into, I'm learning to be an assessor. And again, this is not a word that I enjoy, and it's so I'm grappling with it. Anyways, it's a role of a person who supports someone who wants to be a certified trainer. And until the point when we decide, it's a mutual within the community and also within a larger group of assessors, that it's time to, go through this threshold on the other side. And I love this bit because it allows me to work with people who are really committed and really curious to go deeper, and we are curious together. I would say, like, one thing that I am curious about right now, I just keep being curious about different things. So right now I'm really curious about these particularly emotions, that are related to violence in me, because I realized that, I'm practicing nonviolent communication. So how about if I feel hatred, jealousy, or contempt? Do I go like, me? No, I am nonviolent. Yeah. Yes. And what I learned is that the more I try to avoid it, the more it shows in some sneaky ways. But when I acknowledge it, when I relate to it, when it comes, I am safe for myself and for the relationship, and I can be authentic and really be responsible for whatever shows up in me. And there is nothing in me or in another person that is unacceptable. It's really all human, but it's really a lot about what we do with it. Yeah. So feeling hatred doesn't mean that I will act on it. That's a very clear distinction.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing. I'm hearing so many thoughts and ideas that I want to go, like, now I'm torn in so many directions. It's really powerful thought that you say about this, accepting everything that is happening in you and choosing on which things to act or how to proceed with these things. But allowing yourself to hear that whatever is raising in you has some needs behind it, I guess, or it has some values behind it. And then I'm hearing that you're working a lot with children, and that's again bringing me back to this creating supportive environment with for the plant to grow, or for the child to grow. And you're working with your own children and working with teachers, trying to give them this spaciousness that they can create for the kids. And I'm hearing that you're also creating this environment for yourself, that you recognize that there was so much of giving and contributing and being creative, and now instead of going into burnout, how I hear it is that you choose to take some space for yourself and or maybe enjoy walks in the nature more. And that is also a really powerful thought to me, like this idea that we can recognize the threshold when we've worked enough and now we need rest without like absolutely exhausting our bodies, that we can only lie down and do nothing because we don't have energy for anything else. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for reflecting it. What comes up for me that actually ties the first part with the last part of what you mirrored is it's also what Marshall said, that we cannot end the war that happens out in the world, but we can end the war that happens within ourselves. And what it means for me is really like embracing and finding acceptance for all the parts, and relating. And I'm hoping, like, if I can relate to my own dark parts. Like I gave the example of hatred. Like there's so much hatred now going on, people fighting over vaccines, politics, so many topics, right? So much polarization. So if I can relate to that energy within me, my relationship with this energy outside of me also changes. And it is about really honoring myself. And what you said about resting, not going into burnout. Yeah, there is this kind of expectation of go, 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 go. And if you don't, that means you're staying behind. If you're staying behind, that means you're a loser. Yeah?
Yeah, it's like an Alice in Wonderland. You need to run with all your heart only to stay in one place. And if you run twice as fast, then you can maybe reach somewhere.
Yeah, but there's another quote from Alice, which is, the hurrier you go, the behinder you get. Yeah, so it really, for me, the practice of nonviolent communication starts within and starts with slowing down and giving yourself space to feel, and then to tap into your longings, and really find your rhythm, and trust yourself, trust your body, trust the process, that when it's time to act, there is the energy to act, and when there's time to rest, you just go into rest. And that's the most natural, organic thing. And then of course, sometimes, I don't know, we fall into a deep winter, like of depression, and we do need some support, because something is stuck and it's not moving out. But there's always a sign. So again, it's about getting curious, connecting, and looking from the perspective of needs. What's happening there? What is life telling you? What is life bringing me in this package that I hate? But that's what I've got. That's the only thing that I've got. So just as well, I can look inside.
Wow, thank you so much, Raga. I really appreciate how you bring it all back to those three elements. They really seem to be universal, that if we slow down and we allow ourselves the spaciousness to be curious and to find connection with ourselves and our needs, that then we can continue moving on. It sounds a bit weird that I say it out loud, that if we slow down, we'll be continuing moving on. But yes, somehow I find this experience in me, that if I allow myself to slow down, then something just calls me like, okay, we can do this and that and that. And yeah, thank you. And I would love to continue this conversation maybe for 2-3 more hours. And again, respecting the time of the audience, respecting the time of people who are watching us, and also respecting your time. I think maybe one last question that I would like to ask is there something that you would like to wish to people who have watched it? And majority of them have already started their NVC journey, or they're curious about NVC. That's how they found this video. And yeah, maybe something doable that they can do to support their way of connecting to themselves and allowing this spaciousness.
I'm wondering, interestingly, the first thing that comes is remember to breathe. Yeah, because, well, I mentioned these three points, the curiosity, connection, and needs. And then, of course, there's so much more to NVC. I love it. It's like Lego. You have these 4 basic components, and then you have these key differentiations that again, to be curious about like, okay, am I observing, meaning am I close to the facts, or am I interpreting? Yeah, and of course there's both in me. So it's not about, oh, I will stop interpreting. Good luck to go shopping, if you stop using, or like, doing anything, if you stop using your meaning making device. Yeah, like you need to add meaning to what you see to navigate your life. And sometimes it takes you away from the actual reality. So this is also about, okay, this is what I'm seeing, this is the meaning that I'm giving to it, and something is off. Okay, so what is it that I'm seeing? Getting curious. Yeah, and then you can play and play and play with it. But for me, this remember to breathe it's almost like remember that you are. Maybe not almost, yeah, but something like relax. Yeah, and also it's my wish is that you have fun with it and that you play with it, because this is also when we can learn the most and also have fun on the way, right? So don't hold it so serious and be that serious about it. Like just bring some lightness even into these dark and tense places. Like, always when I get upset or like get really there is this moment when I realize and I remember to take a breath, and then in this space there's some humor that comes up, and then I know I'm back. Okay? Because if I'm that serious, means that it's okay, it needs some more love. But yeah, I don't know if that answers the question. It's just improvising.
Thank you, Aga. I heard the two parts, that is remembering to breathe, and I'm sitting at my partner's working space and this is what he has on his monitor, like just breathe in, breathe out, and then start speaking. That give yourself this time to pause and to connect with yourself. And in this pause, sometimes there finds something that releases, that gives you ease. And then when this ends of our mouth start going up and we're like, oh, actually I can actually joke about it. I experienced it yesterday. I was very angry and I came to the call, Moscow practice group call, and I was saying like, I'm so angry right now, I want to smash, but I want to NVC the shit out of this, so I'm doing self-empathy today. And it was already fun for me and I was smiling. I'm like, why am I smiling? I'm angry. And yeah, by the end of it, it was just such a blast to release all of this.
Yeah, to really make space. So one tiny thing that comes up for me, and that's for me also very important to know when using or practicing or learning nonviolent communication, is the awareness of how our neurobiology works. And I love polyvagal theory by Stephen Porges, and he speaks about these regulation spheres. And there's the green, which is social interaction, which is about being relaxed, being curious, being open, being receptive, being playful. And then there is the fight or flight, that the tense or the stress, like even in a regular work day, when we work, and email, it sometimes feels like playing tennis with this wall that shoots balls at you, and you're like, shoot, yeah, and then like, remember to breathe, what? So it feels like you can't stop. That's already for me a red lamp. When I have a sense that so much is happening, I can't stop. It's like, okay, really? Yeah. So I learned to question this. And oftentimes it's not true, but it feels so true, you know, that I can't stop because the whole world will fall apart, the project won't be finished, the boss will fire me, you know, that are all sorts of stories coming up in my head. And that means that we are in this red zone, fight or flight. And what brings us, and in this red zone, empathy doesn't work. Like, I mean, it works when I receive it from the outside. That's what I mean. Yeah. So if I'm in the red zone and you empathize with me, I can go to the green zone. But self-empathy and my skills to empathize, they don't work. And a lot of things that I learned that I'm absolutely capable to use when I'm in the social connection sphere, they don't work. Because when we are in fight or flight, our mind is set to look for danger, for what's not working, you know? And that's not the approach that we're talking about. And also breathing is one of the most basic tools that allows our system to relax step by step, bit by bit. Be a little bit more open, a little bit more receptive, a little bit more curious. And back finally.
Thank you, Ang. I have absolutely nothing to ask after this. I just so love this idea and really want to finish here because it feels so complete for me. And thank you so much for finding time, for finding willingness to record this interview. And I'm so looking forward to having more projects with you, especially since you're in assessment team for India. And I'm hoping to meet maybe one day again, live and in person. And yeah, thank you for bringing those ideas into this interview. And I really hope that they would be useful for people and applicable. Yeah, thank you.
I very much hope that too. Thank you very much, Natalia, for inviting me, and to you for watching this interview, and all the blessings to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.